So is there something in particular that inspires your art or has been kind of inspiring for you lately?
Um, Lately you can probably, I mean, you can see behind me, like some of my old paintings are up on the wall behind me, and
Mhm,
they're very, very colorful,
mhm.
and sort of, a single object. I've always been inspired by religious imagery, and so I like iconography and how it's just like a very simple presentation of a single powerful image. And so that oftentimes that's the way I paint. Although lately, because of, I don't know, just what we've all been going through over the last year, I feel like my paintings are getting a little bit darker and more monochromatic, and maybe, that's an indication of kind of, the strange year that everybody has had with COVID-19, and just having a slightly different mood. But yeah, often a lot of times I'm fascinated by religious imagery like candles and flames and the all-seeing eye. I love painting eyeballs. I love painting candles and flames, and things that kind of have some visual power to them, and are sort of hard to capture in two dimensions because they're they have a lot of light reflecting off of them, and they're flickering and moving all the time. So that's, it's a technical challenge as well as just being subject matter that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and so you're saying like how you really like to bring these to life with this iconography and how something might be really hard to capture in 2D, but how could you talk a little bit about the mediums you use and how you kind of got to using those and how that can
Yeah,
help or
yeah.
make it harder?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a two-dimensional artist for the most part. I'm trying to take, and I'm a figurative artist. I don't work that often in abstracts or ideas. I'm often taking, something that exists in the visual world, and trying to create it in a way that means something to me. I work mostly in oils, and I've worked in oils for a long time because my mom was an oil painter, and so, she taught me at a relatively early age how to use oil paints. So I don't think I ever had that fear of oils that some novice artists have, because they can be kind of finicky, right? And you almost feel like you need to have a chemistry degree sometimes to work in oils, because there are all these mediums and different things that you have to use to either thin them out or thick them up and get them to dry slower or faster. And you have to think about painting lean over fat or fat over lean, and all this stuff. But I like oils because they have this real depth of color and intensity to them. And so for somebody who is more of a figurative artist like myself, and trying to capture more natural colors like skin tones, etc., they bring this really wonderful balance of very intense naturalistic color along with workability. I think that oils are, they're probably the most flexible and forgiving of the paints that I've worked with. So it's a little bit, if I was able to get over that hump early of being able to be comfortable with them, and work with them, and just not be afraid to make mistakes with them. And I like their flexibility, the fact that I can lay down a layer of paint, and then I can kind of slowly build it up over time. I utilize some more classical techniques like that, of doing underpainting and painting and then multiple layers of glazing to get different effects, which means that I work quite slowly because there's multiple layers of paint going on there and drying. But I started out my college career as a chemistry major, so I kind of love the fact that there are different mediums and different oils that you can use to achieve different effects with them, and I just love playing with them.
what would you say being an artist means to you?
Um,
It's my life.
oh, I draw.
Yeah, you draw a lot, right?
Yeah,
Were you doing that today? Oh, wow, that's gorgeous.
No, that's in the show.
oh, it's that's a um, animals.
Yeah, is this your work that is in the show this year?
Yeah,
That's awesome. Can you tell me more about it? You said it's animals.
yep, animals and a butterfly is on here.
Could you tell me a little bit about how you draw? I think I remember reading you said that sometimes you draw and then use the computer.
Yep, oh, is Photoshop.
You use Photoshop. So do you draw the dragonfly? So when you were making your dragonfly, did you draw it on paper and then use Photoshop?
Both.
Both of them. Cool.
First, draw, scan to the computer,
Hmm.
choice,
Colors.
color, and print.
How long have you been drawing?
Every year.
You mean every day you draw?
Yeah,
Every day. That's awesome. Do you like to draw landscapes and animals, or
Yeah.
would you focus on animals more?
on animals.
Animals is your favorite.
Yeah,
Have you ever, so you draw, but it looked like um the mask with the flames, it looked like you painted that. So do you paint as well?
yeah,
Cool. Is that watercolor?
yeah.
So do you paint your drawings before and then use Photoshop to add the color, or do you like mix it up?
Mix it up.
What is your favorite way, or which do you prefer to color?
And mix the different colors.
Hmm. Do you prefer Photoshop or painting?
Painting.
Yeah, it's nice to have the brush in your hand and control it a bit more.
Yeah,
But Photoshop is nice when you make a mistake because then you can just go back, right?
yeah. And do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have an artist that you look up to at all?
What?
You told me you liked Van Gogh.
Oh, Van Gogh.
Yeah. Do you like his work and just like looking at it, or do you like his styles?
Looking at it.
Yeah. Is there something in particular that inspires you the most, or maybe has inspired you recently?
Yeah, so it's been some years now. I mean, it started before 2009, but I think 2009 is sort of the official beginning of my interest in pirates, specifically female pirates. So there are a handful that people know who they are, but in my research, I uncovered over 58 female pirates that no one's ever heard of. These women served in the Navy, in the military, in armies, and we don't hear a lot about them. And these weren't good people, but their historical male counterparts, we know about them.
Mhm.
I mean, they're part of history. You know, a lot of them were privateers, you know, so sanctioned by governments to pillage and rape and steal and all of that. But the women we don't know so much about. And so what I really
also enjoy about it, one, I really enjoy the research. That's really fun for me. As an epileptic, no matter how much I try to organize it, I don't remember. So every day it's like a fresh day. It's Groundhog Day. It's a fresh start. You know, like, who's
Mhm.
this woman? Wow, I never heard of her. And it turns out I've got files and files about her, but I have no recollection. So I think that kind of keeps me excited. And so one thing I do, and I work on these books. I developed a process in 1992 that combines journal writing with art making in a book. And it was something that I was doing naturally, and it was very healing and comforting to me. So as an epileptic, combining words with images was sort of, it was like encouraging my brain to create new pathways after a seizure. So by having to create like these relationships between the unknowns, I had to work harder. So
Mhm.
when something gets, you know, fried, like, wow, I can't get that information anymore. I don't know what that is. Now I can go around it. And so these books kind of served as that. And so let's see, I was doing it a little bit beforehand, but I really started to do this in 2009. And especially in the pandemic, I've been creating dozens. Like it's
Wow.
kind of all I do. And I use, you know, the theme of piracy and being a, you know, so there's sketches included in here too. This is actually when I was in Key West. But you know, it's like I'm telling my story. I don't know how to hold this left or right. I'm telling my story through this theme of pirates and piracy, especially being epileptic. You know, there's a certain I don't know, bravery and courage that comes with having to just, because you can't, you know, you can't live in that fear of like, well, what if I have a seizure? What if I die? What if, you know, you just have to brave through it. And after a seizure, just get up. You
Mhm.
got to get up again and function and do these things. And so I really, you know, and I love this sort of alter ego, you know, of myself and
Yeah.
sort of the ghost, you know, the ghost pirate self. I think that you know, I've had epilepsy all my life. Sorry, I'm not holding this very well. I can't.
No, I can see it perfectly.
Okay. And so, you know, you're close to death. That's just a natural part of my being. So, you know, rather than, you know, being afraid of it, I'm trying to incorporate it into my work. So there's a lot of, you know, skeletons and skulls and crossbones. And so I think that, you know, that, you know, live life like a bright star, pirate kind of thing appeals to me. And then the metaphor. So here I have, you know, like my ship's, I'm calling it my ship's manifest, like a captain's log. And I was writing down the highlights of whatever this year was. And so these books are, you know, how I ground myself in reality. So even though it seems like, oh, it's, you know, pirate story, it's really me trying to tell my story. So when I read back over these, I'll say, oh, I thought that. I didn't know I thought that. Or I lived through that. Oh, I didn't know that about me. Or like this page is you know, about my mom dying. So this is her right here, and me, and also me, you know, and then, you know, all the sharks, you know. So to me, the seizures are represented often by the wreck. You know, what's the wreckage, you know, what's left in the wake, you know, or adrift, or lost in the storm, or lost at sea, you know, the lone survivor, you know. So I love working in these, and you know, I've got tons of little books like that, and it's really, they're lifesavers for me. It's my grip. And so when you say like what, you know, like what compels me to create, it's like, what could compel me not to? Like literally, I mean, I work in these books every day for hours. I'm totally self-entertained. I'm there. It's great. I love it.
Can you tell me a little bit about what being an artist means to you?
Well, to me, being an artist is all about the creative impulse. Because I work in all three mediums of visual arts, writing, and music, to me, it's the idea that you create that makes art. And that's particularly important, I think, because I work a lot with people with disabilities. And I'm one of the master teaching artists for Arts Access South Carolina, which incidentally I plan to still work with even from Virginia. But we work with people with disabilities. And for instance, when I work with somebody who's say a quadriplegic, they can't manipulate materials, but they can direct the creation of an art product. And to me, that's no different than when a visual artist uses assistants. For instance, if you're familiar with Chihuly, the glass artist, he has assistants actually blow the glass, which he instructs them what to do, but they actually blow the glass. And it's partly because he's blind in one eye like I am. So I have a little bit of kinship there with how he approaches things. But all through history, artists have used assistants to help. For instance, Rubens had a couple hundred assistants at one point. Michelangelo had 200 to 400 assistants. They all had assistants who helped move the actual physical products or would fill in areas for them under their instruction. And to me, the artist is the one who comes up with the idea.
Yeah. Is there something in particular that inspires your art?
Well, right now I'm interested in trying to connect people's subconscious with their conscious. And I do that by combining abstraction, surrealism, non-objective painting, and sometimes dream work all in one event or one art piece. And what I'm trying to do is by keeping the imagery specifically ambiguous, it triggers the viewer's imagination to interpret what they're seeing. So doing that, I expect each viewer who looks at one of my paintings to come away with something different, and maybe even sometimes something different each time they see it.
Cool. So you're really creating a unique experience for everyone that views your work. And even you said like, that's so cool that it could be the same person and then getting a different experience every time they look at it.
Right, because the images are so ambiguous, whatever you're thinking about or feeling or what's in your subconscious the day you look at it will affect what you see. And now sometimes my titles will be a hint as to what I was thinking about or feeling when I did it, but I try and keep the images abstract enough that someone could look at it and come away with something completely different. For instance, the pieces I have in the show this time, I was thinking about the pandemic. So for instance, there's one called Green and Yellow Collisions, and that's about the virus in the body and stuff, because that's what I was thinking about when I painted it. But that doesn't mean that's what the person who looks at it's going to see. They may see something completely unrelated to that.
Your painting, do you have the viewer in mind, or is that kind of that comes after once you showcase it, then you think about the viewer?
It depends. Those and that series I was working on, I needed something to like come out of me, like not venom. I mean, I needed to express myself. Mm-hmm. Now, actually, I just finished Deadline, so you'll see me like drop dead. Because I'm like, no, I need some rest. Yeah. It depends. If I have a contest, I'm working to that deadline or to that theme of the contest. But still, it's something that answer also another question of yours. It's if it's a contest, is either working on a flash of an idea or through research, which is, I think most of our artists do, is like a theme or like a snippet of a poem or lyrics or something, and then I do my research, which could drive me through like weird channels. Yeah. But still, yeah, I mean, I could tell you, like, the thing was a Renaissance, so I started working. It's not finished yet, so, and it could take me through like a phrase from a book, and then I search something else, and then it leads me to another thing, which is completely different from where I started. It could take me, you know, your history, so yeah, it could take me from Huxley to William Blake, and then from to Plato, and it would lead me to something crazy. And you tell me, where? Come on, where does Plato like link to Huxley to Shakespeare or wherever? And then you'll see there's a link to them. Mm-hmm. It's something crazy in my mind, and it could lead to. Sorry. You see, I mean, you see the theme. It's either work. You see where work leads to. I mean, depends on whether I'm working on an idea of mine or a deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
but most of the.
Oh, so when you're researching, you're researching for your art, and that's when you kind of get into these like wormholes of just finding like that one connection to the next, and just like continuously finding all those things that seem totally different but are really similar.
Yeah, it's either working on something on my own or a deadline for a contest. Usually it's right now it's contest, because it's usually I keep on doing contest, and if I win, depending, and then you're laughing because it's weird, because through the contest sometimes it leads me to jobs or meeting people. That's why I found the prize. Mm-hmm. And meeting people, and it's fourth year with the art show. It's my fourth year.